That was an excellent presentation by Justin. I was learning things, taking down notes. Very informative, very helpful. We also at PG use the NIST controls, which I'll talk a little bit about. So I just want to quickly go over a quick agenda. I want to talk about our cybersecurity program influences, the people, the talent, and expertise. That's really kind of the focus of my presentation. I mean, I could spend more time with the timely access, but I think Justin did an incredible job with that. Our company, basically, we've been in the utility industry for a little while. We started out in 1889, and we had our company. We had the longest distance transmission on the West Coast. So, and then in 1895, sorry, we started a Sullivan plant. It's a generation plant on one of our main rivers in Portland, and it's still running to this day. 1.5 megawatt turbines, hydro units. They don't produce that much, but still running, so it's a good thing. Our company has 2,600 employees, and our all-time peak load is 4,000 megawatts. We also have 9 generation plants, so we're pretty similar to size as Justin's. Our team is responsible for generation owner operator compliance, and we also do cybersecurity with the NIST policy and procedures. We struggle with all of that because we don't want to hand our auditors a 45-page NIST document and scare them to death. We prefer to kind of separate that out. So we have kind of a different take on the way we've done policy and procedures for NERC CIP. Our NERC CIP, all of our generation plants are low impact, so we basically have a 7-page procedure, which is a lot nicer than a 47-page NIST procedure to hand to an auditor. So that's kind of just been our approach to date. This is just a quick layout of our generation in Washington and Oregon. We mostly have everything in Oregon within the I-84 corridor, except for we have a new wind farm up in Walla Walla, Washington, which is up in the upper hand corner. So we have wind, coal, combined cycle, gas, hydro, a little bit of solar, but really the majority of our load is combined cycle gas. So the cybersecurity influences. So on an annual basis, I work with our team, which basically we have 3 cybersecurity engineers, a cybersecurity specialist, some contingent workers that come on and off to help us on projects, and then on the on the compliance side, NERC CIP, we have operations and planning and CIP standards, and we have a specialist and analyst. So all told, we have about 7 to 8 people on our team that help with our cybersecurity and compliance program. And this project plan kind of keeps everybody on the same page. It's got the list there. I'm not going to go through the entire one, but basically project deliverables are really the objectives for the year, and they kind of keep us as a team on pace of communication of, hey, what projects are you working on? Which one are you working on? So it's all kind of works together for the good of the team. The other piece is the role and responsibilities kind of lays out who's doing what, whether you're a specialist or analyst or cybersecurity engineer. It really helps to lay out and distinguish what the responsibilities are. Also on there is our risk management, which we're still kind of working on. That's why I really like Justin's presentation. It's pretty hard to find and discover what are the exact risks that you have, but NERC CIP is kind of forcing our hand to do that. You've got that 15 minutes. If an asset's affected within 15 minutes, you have to raise that as a higher risk than, let's say, another asset that wouldn't cause the downtime. I'll keep going here. So for our program influences, our company is really good about working on budget and making sure that we've laid out everything. So annually we have a spring and a fall operations and maintenance meeting where we sit down with the plant and we walk through all the different projects and things that need to go through. And so my team is very involved in that process, and that's taken a lot to get there, because a lot of times we would get asked at the 11th hour, like, by the way, we wanted to consider cybersecurity in this project. Can you do it now? And it's like, well, wait, why didn't you involve us a year ago? So we're getting to that place where we're at the table. And that's really important now rather than what it was before, because you can't really react in the 11th hour. You're just going to have a hodgepodge ad hoc cyber program. The other piece that we're working on is enterprise-wide. We have a problem. In fact, my team, that's why my team exists, is because we're an industrial control systems operational technology team. IT couldn't cut it. I'm just saying it that. They couldn't make it happen. And I know there's a lot of IT, OT discussions, and I'm all for working with IT and all for having us be on the same page with them. And enterprise-wide, I'm involved in governance conversations right now where we are just taking a step back and saying, our governance program needs some help. And so what we've done is we've brought IT, OT, physical security, and a project manager, as well as a internal cybersecurity audit assurance function that we have, all to the table, and we're scrapping a lot of the old things, and we're trying to reconfigure our whole governance program. It's not going to be an easy thing, but I think at the end of the day, what will be nice is that OT will be able to come to the table and have a little bit more say in IT's business. And what I mean by that is that if we have all those different people come to the table and they're all able to vote and provide their perspective, that's going to make it a whole lot better than IT just saying, you need to do this, and other OT saying, no thanks, we're not doing that. So we're really trying to get everybody on the same page, and it's an ongoing discussion. It's not going to be easy, but we feel like it's the best thing for our company. The last piece is executive level support. It's probably the reason I've stayed at my company for 8 years. My VP is so supportive that every time I walk into her office, she just says, Matt, you know you have a blank check. Anything that you need for cybersecurity, you have it. You ask for it. And I'm not going crazy with that. I'm being really cautious with it. But you know what? It's really helpful when my VP says that. And it's the reason I've stayed at the company, because I know that if I have a problem or I've got a staff shortage or I've got a project that I need to push through, she's there to write the check. And that's really supportive. So staffing, I'm going to blow through a few of these, but staffing, we're a publicly regulated utility, so we can't just like add staff left and right. We have to go put it into a rate case. We've been recently hiring contingent workers, and that's been helpful, but you've got the benefit and drawback. You can't bring them on full time. You're building up expertise in somebody, and they could leave any point in time. So talent. So there's kind of a philosophy of talent. You can either, one, hire them right out of school, or two, hire with industry experience. I personally have hired right out of school. They're young, they're energetic, they're willing to work. And you know what's interesting is a lot of times they go out to the plants and they sit with the SMEs that are getting older and they've been there for a long time and they have tons of knowledge and they're working really well because they just go out and they become sponges to that SME at the plant. I mean, we have one plant technician at one of our plants who he's been there for 35 years. And it's just a matter of time before he says, Matt, I'm out. And so our cyber engineer has been out there tons of times, just meeting with him, spending time with him. But so far, my philosophy has been, let's hire out of school. The other piece is that if you have people that are right out of school, have built up expertise, then you bring in somebody with industry experience, you kind of have the chance of that person kind of trying to come in and dictate things, rather than somebody coming out of school is just going to kind of sit and listen. So I don't know if that makes sense, but basically I've gone with go with the younger hand. The big piece with assimilation is hit the ground running. We have 9 plants, 9 geographic locations. Most of the cyber engineers that have started have just immediately gone to a plant in their first or second day of work. So they're immediately jumping right in and getting involved with that environment. Also, creating learning opportunities, really important that they have a chance to learn and become more of an expert, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And the other piece is the team emphasis. Even though I've taken all 9 plants and I've said, hey, can you be the lead at this plant? So we have 3 cyber engineers, we've got 9 plants, we split them up among the 3 of them, and I'm hiring a 4th one soon, and broken out the responsibilities. They still back up each other. They'll still say, hey, I'm installing this, can you come out with me? So they're really working hard to be together as a team. And we've really tried, last year we had a couple trainings to be on the same page as a team. We go out to dinner together, we have drinks together, we really enjoy the time together, and it's really important that we have that team chemistry. The retention, building rapport, it's taken time, but we've been doing that. This second bullet is probably one of the most important of the presentation to me, is allow freedom to attend training, opportunity. You know, the last 3 years I've gone to Vegas with my team, and it has been great. We've gone to Black Hat, which is like they break down different trainings. They have, we've gone to all different types. And then the second half of that week is DEF CON, which is a hackers conference. So you got 20,000 hackers in the room who pay a cover fee, no names, nothing, and they come to this conference and they talk about how they hack systems. It's a pretty amazing thing. Well, my team loves that trip. In fact, one of my teammates just put in his travel requisition for that trip. It's in August, and he put it in this month. So what does that tell you about retention? He's planning on being there. He's planning on being on the team. So to me, that's the opportunity. It's the retention policy, really. Oh, and have fun while you're at it. I like to have fun. I like to take my team out. Every once in a while, they'll come to work, and there'll be a fifth of some type of alcohol of their preference on their desk. Why not? The other piece is building up continuums in their engineering, so the job description, so they know exactly where they're going next. So my cyber engineer, who's a 2 now, he knows what it needs or what it's going to take to get to a 3. New positions, we're trying to work with IT, but you know, a lot of times they have a position that they're doing, like a network intrusion analyst position. You could leverage that, change the language, add ICS, and you're leveraging their work. So. Developing the plan. This is the part that I'm still working on, but I'm just wanted to share with you guys kind of how we're moving towards that plan. So the big piece is establishing a core set of skills based on the overall cybersecurity program needs. So every cyber engineer that comes in the door, we're going to need them to do certain skills. And I think Justin kind of touched on this a little bit. But we also want to work on the specialized skills. So I've got 3 guys on our team that have been at our company 3 to 5 years. So I would really like to see the specialized skills become something where they become a subject matter expert in like ethical hacking, or really good at firewall configurations or network architecture. So you've got the core base to work from, and then you're building this other set of skills and allowing for the other members of the team to really kind of do what they like, get involved really deeply in areas that they really enjoy. I have one guy on my team that loves to do wireless hacking. Another one really enjoys the network intrusion detection system process, and has project managed basically our work in doing that. So the other piece with expertise is scorecard and development plan. So our company has scorecards and develop already in place, but the development plan we've kind of taken to another level where we're actually saying, hey, here's the goal I have for 3 years. So you're actually looking at down the road, what kind of certifications do you want to get? What kind of place do you want to be at in 3 years? So that we're taking that into account, and it's well documented, so that we can say to HR, hey, here's where we're going, and this is why we paid this much money for training. So timely access. I could spend all day on this slide. So you have vendor solutions versus homegrown solutions. We're still trying to formulate this. I think 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, we brought on some large name vendor solutions, the ones that we saw in the first slide deck. Some of them work, some of them don't. Some of them are hodgepodges of other 4 or 5 different vendors in one vendor solution. And so what we're trying to do is determine what are the benefits and the drawbacks. Would it be easier for us just to build our own system and standardize it across the fleet and then circle back with the vendor and say this is what we're using? Or would it be better if we went with, hey, what solution do you have? Let's take a look at it. Let's maybe pilot it and see how it works. So this is really a challenge. I'm just being honest with you. Hearing some of the executives earlier in the day, the CEOs of the different companies, I kind of smiled and thought, you know, it's good that they're saying that. It's good that cybersecurity is more of an emphasis, but there's still a lot of ways to go. There's a long ways to go. There's a lot of work that has to be done. I just last week, one of my engineers came in with his head down, like, you wouldn't believe it, but one of the vendors that we had at one of our plants completely disabled some of the policies on our system to do some updating, and they never reinstalled the policies back on there. You got a problem with that. But you have somebody who's a vendor coming in and doing that, and then you don't have visibility to them not re-implementing the policies. I mean, so basically, it's kind of like having whitelisting in place. Somebody takes it off, which is necessary to do updates, and then doesn't put it back on and leaves. That's a risk. That's a big risk. So we're still working on that. We have done pilots with a lot of our vendors, and those have been successful because I think the vendors really want them to be successful. They want a success story to say, hey, this worked well with PGE. We want it to work well for others. So our asset database and maintenance management, I really like Justin's presentation. I want to look at what their solution. We built one from our homegrown database. We built it out of 2,600 assets that we have. We had to do it by hand. It's spreadsheets. It was painful, but we got it in place. It's one thing that we're really trying to do right now is just shore it up, make sure it's 100% complete. Right now, I say it's about 85 to 95% complete, but it's just every once in a while you have a plant SME just goes out and puts a PLC somewhere, and you're like, oh, wait, you need to put that in the asset inventory. So we're still working on that. It's going to take time, and it's going to be a challenge, but it's definitely something that we have a plan in place to look at something that's a little bit more robust, that's going to be able to kind of look at our networks live and tell us what's going on. The other piece with asset management is we've really worked with the plant to hold them accountable to change management. And in other words, we would say, hey, this is your whole asset database. Is it right? Has any change happened? So on a quarterly basis, we literally have them go in and put a work order that says there have been no changes to the network, or here's the changes to the network, and I've inputted them into this database. So it's holding some bit of accountability to the plant SME out there. And then we also provide a monthly VP management check-in. So we actually send an email with all the plants and all the VPs saying, here's all the work order statuses, yes or no. If you got no's, then you're going to probably get a phone call. But if you've got all yeses, that means you're doing what you need to. And then establish a line of responsibility. That's been challenging. We have a cyber engineer, we have plant SMEs, who does what, and who's responsible for each part. Just really quickly, major project, we're working on our network intrusion detection system. We've used Cisco as our main emphasis. The 5500 series firewalls are a lot more advanced. They can do a lot more than they used to. And our SIM, we've just put that in place as well to kind of keep track of logs. And we're currently looking to get somebody to basically analyze all that information and be kind of the go-to person when there is an issue. The expectation's realistic. We really try to be proactive with our plant outages. We make sure we work with the planner schedulers so we know exactly when they are and what we can and can't do. Working with legacy equipment versus innovation. We are working on a standard so that whenever a vendor comes in the door, we hand them the standard before any type of drawing or any network has been put together to say this is exactly what we'll accept and what we won't accept. And we need to really work with the vendors. And we've noticed that even in the last couple of times in discussions with them, they still do what they want. And we have to go back and argue with them back and forth. It's not as easy as some of the CEOs were saying on stage, like, oh, we just want everything to be creative. Well, we're getting there. And the other piece is retiring SMEs. They are starting to retire. They all have all the knowledge in their head, and we got to get that down on paper before they walk out the door. Policy and procedures. We have an overall cybersecurity policy. It's very NIST-based. And then we have plant-specific procedures because all of our vendors are different and they have different networks, so we have to make those procedures customized. And the signatures are from the plant managers. We really want the plant manager buy-in to say, hey, we're responsible for this too. And the supporting the enterprise initiatives, I kind of talked about that with our governance discussion. And that's all I had. So thank you.